All right, let's go over a few of the other games shown off today at the Xbox Showcase, starting with one we'd started to talk about a little while ago, and let's continue that conversation because this is one of the biggest games in the Xbox Game Studios portfolio. That is Avowed. Destin, you had started, we kind of cut you off there having to go to break, but let's come back. So let's talk about, like, we've got the trailer playing now. It's interesting, I think all of us, we're all sitting here together watching this. At first we're all like, is this Assassin's Creed? And I think somebody said, wait, is this Sea of Thieves? And then it's Avowed. So art style wise, it's got a little bit more of a kind of colorful, fantastical style, I think, than that initial, we were talking about the contrast between the initial CG reveal trailer from a few years ago to this. And that first one had kind of a darker tone, right?
Yeah, darker, more Elder Scrolls Skyrim tone, in my opinion. So I was very thrown off when I saw this, just because it wasn't what I was expecting, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. At the end of the day, it's going to be, what is the storytelling like? Is the gameplay solid? What are the different class builds like? And like the magic looks really, really cool. So they have all of the pillars things, like from the Pillars of Eternity universe, that will intrigue players. Now the question is, do they execute on all the facets of that game and that franchise and why it's so popular?
Kat, you host a role-playing game podcast. You're a big RPG gamer. This definitely, so to me, obviously it's not the same thing, but this to me feels like it might scratch my Elder Scrolls itch, medieval fantasy, first-person RPG itch, while we do wait for Elder Scrolls 6. Was that your take from this at all?
No.
No.
Actually, Avowed was my letdown of the show.
Okay.
Didn't care for the art style, and I read there was a big interview that went up on PC Gamer not too long after that, and it was interesting to kind of read between the lines because Obsidian said that they initially kind of pitched it as Skyrim-sized, as you could say, and Elder Scrolls-like. But actually, it's probably going to be much more on the scope of Outer Worlds.
Okay.
Yeah. So, medieval Outer Worlds, if that's your speed. Outer Worlds as a game was kind of it was good. It was not an all-time classic. It had solid writing, but it did feel very small and very contained. So, I'm hoping that Avowed is able to dig deeper and give us something a little bit more. But at first blush, it did not really hit for me, I don't think.
Stella, is a smaller scale a negative for you with this, or are you totally, because you were hoping to see more of Outer Worlds too.
Yeah, and I feel like I got that, but in medieval fantasy, because if you look at some of the backgrounds here, it does kind of look like the world from Outer Worlds. But it's interesting. So yeah, like Dustin said, obviously what we were given with the cinematic trailer is very different, and which is why some people are disappointed, me included, with seeing the gameplay. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that this game is going to be bad, but upon looking at the gameplay again, it's not something that I am necessarily interested in. And I feel like if I were to invest myself in a time like this, I would just play Skyrim, There's so many mods, so much community support on that you can make it look however you want. And this just doesn't hit with me, and I usually don't like Skyrim-like games or, high fantasy games unless it's like Inquisition, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So for me, while the scaling being smaller is great because I get very distracted with open world games, this is not hitting for me. And I would just go play Skyrim.
Well, I will defend it and say that Obsidian typically has had way better writing than the type that you would find in Skyrim. Like, Skyrim is huge.
Yeah.
Big game, but the actual writing is not that great. They focus on scope. So if this is a much more self-contained world, and it's set in the Pillars of Eternity universe, which is a wonderful universe, very well formed, then in that sense, I think that it could offer something very different from Skyrim that people might really like.
Right. I think I was thinking of just gameplay, just looking at that at face value. Obviously, story is like a really big reason. I've played some turn-based games that have really good stories, and I don't like turn-based games. So if this is good, I will definitely play it. But at first glance with the gameplay, if it's just like an open-world exploration game, I would go to Skyrim for that. So
for me, I'm actually totally good with it being a smaller than Skyrim and more focused game. Because again, like you said, Kat, Obsidian's entire history suggests that the writing is going to be really strong on this. So there's going to be some really engaging like character conversations, character moments. So yeah, if they nail the sort of feel of the combat, which I mean, hey, first-person spellcasting seems to be in right now. First-person spellcasting, which I'm all for. Yeah, I think this could be definitely something that I play quite a bit of. I don't need everything to be a 80, 100-hour game. If it's 30, 40 quality hours, I will be more than satisfied with Avowed. Now, another first-party exclusive role-playing game is coming from In Exile. Brian Fargo and the team, they most recently did Wasteland 3, and they had announced that they were hiring for and they were working on 2 Unreal Engine 5 role-playing games. Destin, we've now seen one of them.
Was not Fallout.
It's not a Fallout 1 remake. I maintain that that should probably be a thing. That would be great. But Clockwork Revolution looked great as a totally new thing, and I got to get everybody's reactions to this. We have plenty of time to talk about this and then a few more games. This to me is one of the highlights of the show. I mean, you got steampunk, you got some time manipulation elements, you've got, I mean, this is, I think probably fair to say it's going to be In Exile's biggest scope, highest budget game by possibly an order of magnitude. So Destin, as somebody that was hoping to see something from In Exile today, you got it. What'd you think of this?
I'm very happy. Like, I love it that they're able to sort of do something different. And on this scope, it's one of their first projects that are going to be this big. I think there's a lot of eyes on it. A lot of people are curious what they can do. To me, aesthetically, steampunk for sure. I think I saw some people saying BioShock, you know, because of the rail system and such. But the time manipulation thing is really, really unique, and I'm very curious how that's going to play into the gameplay loop. I love weapons in video games, and like what we're seeing on the screen right now and what we saw for the trailer, very intrigued about what you're going to be able to acquire and what the most powerful things are going to be. It's cool. I love this, and I can't wait to dive in.
Stella?
I really liked it. So BioShock Infinite I played the previous BioShock games, but something about Infinite just really stuck with me, I think because of the steampunk universe, it being up in the clouds, which this definitely has that vibe, and I think a lot of people were like, oh my god, is this the new BioShock? But seeing that and then having the time manipulation is really cool. I've been playing a lot of Zelda, so for me, I'm just like, yes, give me more weird mechanics like this, where it gives the player like unique creative solutions to puzzles, to getting through the world, and it's really cool. I don't know, I love this sort of setting, and it's so cool. And steampunk has been something that I don't think we've seen too much of. It kind of came and went a couple of years ago, and I'm so glad it's here because it looks really good. Everything's shiny, but then when you turn back time and you mess around with the game, it looks like things get a little bit darker and darker. And I'm so intrigued about what the story's going to be.
Kat, again, we got this. They were tongue-in-cheek about the release window on this, saying it'll be ready in due time. So again, probably 2025 and beyond here.
Like 2026, maybe. It's hard to say, honestly. In Exile, it feels like a little bit of an upset to me, because I figured that Obsidian would be the studio that would be taking the enhanced resources given to it and would be going bigger, going more ambitious.
Right.
But In Exile, the studio behind Torment, Tides of Numenera, Wasteland 3, they're the ones who are seemingly going big. And I'm curious to see what happens, because In Exile games, they are often very mechanically ambitious, and you're definitely seeing that with the time traveling mechanics.
Yeah.
And I love it. I love the art. I love the look. I love the vibe. I'm instantly interested in this game.
Let's move to the next game. Another one that a lot of folks were hoping / maybe even expecting to see today, and we got it. Hellblade 2, no release date. Yeah. But we know it's not this year. It's going to be sometime in 2024. Stella, let me go right back to you here, because this we certainly saw the super strong Unreal Engine 5 powered visuals at work in this trailer.
Yeah, I mean, Yeah, they chose a very good moment to kind of go in, because it kind of shows you that, yes, we are still focusing on everything that was in the first game, which you and I discussed we still have to play, but we have to be in the right mindset for it, because if you remember, this was the game where they brought on actual psychologists who decided to try and put the feeling of what it feels like to go through psychosis into a video game. And they did it so well. So I'm very excited to see more about this game. And again, I have to play the first one, but I wish we had gotten more, like more action, a little bit, like a faster scene, because this one, obviously it's showing off, hey, we're still doing all the different effects of psychosis. We're showing you the different otherworldly elements of this game. And it looks gorgeous. It looks absolutely beautiful. I'm so excited to see more, but I really wish we had gotten a little bit more action-heavy gameplay.
I'm just glad that as we're playing the trailer again for everyone, that we're out of the beginning part. I was actually having anxiety in the beginning of that trailer.
Oh, yeah.
In the super claustrophobic space that she was in.
Agreed.
Destin, Hellblade 2, your thoughts?
I really love that we got a demo of the psychosis voices again in Hellblade 2. I played the first one through twice, and I really adored it. I'm glad I did. Highly recommend playing through the first one, especially as it'll set up this. But one of the things I do know about Hellblade 2 is that they've reworked the combat. And combat was one of the weaker points. Well, it was like fine, but I would like to see how they evolve it with Hellblade 2. And I'm really hoping that they're able to do something unique or definitely improved at a bare minimum. But if they can really nail that aspect of it, well, they already have the storytelling and the psychosis, like, hook sort of that kind of creeps you out the whole way. I can't wait to play it.
Kat, did Hellblade 2 do anything for you?
I love the sound design. It's really good. And I think Destin was mentioning that playing that game with headphones is a remarkable experience.
Yeah.
I didn't feel like I learned too much about Hellblade 2. It's just another demo. I think it said 2024.
It did.
Yeah. Okay. So I guess we're going to have to wait a while for a much fuller reveal.
Yeah, 2023, sorry, Destin, I'll come back to you in a second. We now kind of do have a clearer picture of both 2023 and 2024. You know, we've got specifics. We got October 10th for Forza Motorsport, of course, September 6th for Starfield, unless you pay for the more expensive version, then you can play it a few days early. But 2024, we now know we got a couple of the first-party games slotted in there as well. So Destin, sorry, you were going to have another comment on Hellblade.
Yeah, we have the extended showcase coming up, so maybe we see some gameplay there. But I agree with you. Like, we've seen this type of demo twice now. Let's see what like a gameplay moment actually looks like a fight of some kind.
Well, let's do one more game before we take another break, and that at the insistence of Kat Bailey, I'm happy to defer to here, Metaphor.
Re Fantazio, which is by one of the creators of Persona 5. And this game's been kind of missing in action for several years now. It was first announced as Project Re Fantazio in like 2016. So it just kind of appeared out of nowhere. And this is kind of the sleeper of the show to me, because Persona 5 has built a really big and impassioned audience. And you could see a lot of it in this game. I mean, they really went extra with the user interface elements and everything. The artwork is fantastic.
Yes.
Big Persona vibes, but in a different world. I thought it was going to be an action game, but it looks a little bit more like a turn-based game, actually.
It does seem like it, doesn't it?
Yeah, so we're all waiting for Persona 6, but this has definitely grabbed my attention, and it's a different world. And to me, it's the surprise of the show.
Stella, what do you think of this?
I think it looks interesting. It's very flashy, has a lot of different art in it that's really interesting, but these types of games are not usually my pacing. So while I'm really happy for people who are into Persona, I'm like, man, I feel like I missed out on like really getting into that universe. And for me, again, I don't like turn-based combat, so that was a big thing for me. But I know that the stories of these games are really good, which is probably watch a Kat's playthrough of it.
Yeah, well, we got some good variety in this Xbox showcase. Lots of games of many different genres. Well, in just a second, we are going to sit down with the team behind Alan Wake 2. But first, a quick break. IGN Summer of Gaming. We'll be right back.